Hello, welcome to part 2 of this project. Today isn't really going to involve much programming. This is more going to be getting the project ready to be pushed to GitHub, and I'll of course include a link in the description. Before we start that, I just want to go over a few changes that I've made since the previous installment. Nothing much, I just changed all of the, or at least most of the component coordinate space math to use double precision as opposed to integer precision, so that we can get that extra decimal calculation precision. And then also I fixed a small bug where the from frame coordinates code was not doing the math in the correct order. I'll see if I can put a screenshot on screen now, but essentially, if you imagine, in order to convert to the frame coordinate system, then what we end up doing is we first translate by this position here, which is the position which is going to be centered in the frame, and then we sorry, I should call this center and then we also translate by sorry, one second. Okay, sorry. So then, sorry, we don't translate, but then we scale by a factor of the scale, and then we translate it again to the center of the frame. And so what from frame coordinates was doing was we were doing essentially these same steps, but the inverse. So we were first of all translating by the negative. So translating normally just adds the x and y coordinates, so we're subtracting them, and then we would translate same thing. We would undo the center frame translation, and then we would scale by 1 over the scale, and because this is multiplying, when you multiply by scale, this just cancels out. And so the reason that these last two are switched is because what you want to do when taking the inverse of this function is you can imagine copying these down in reverse order. So like that, and then doing the inverse of all of these. And so the problem was that this translation was happening first when it should be happening here at the end, so that we undo all of these in order. And so now so this calculation was being done here and this one up here. And so I just switched those two, and now that function works correctly. And so that's all I've changed, nothing much. Before I go through and add documentation to all of this, I want to convert this into a Gradle project. So currently, this is built using a tool called Ant, which is what most of these projects are built by using default. However, for something which I will be uploading to GitHub, I think that Gradle is more widely used, and so we should convert the project over. So to start this, we will just create a new project, and you can see by default it's set to use Ant, but we are going to use Gradle. Now I'm going to call it copy, and this is all fine. And we want to initialize the Gradle wrapper. Now we will wait for it to go and complete this. Right, so here we have the copy. I'm just going to delete all the code that it has, and I will grab, here I have the current code for the project. It's all in the source directory. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to grab this and move it over here. There we go. Now let's just go to the build.gradle file and change the main class name to be correct. So we want to, so it is code.main. Then we can make sure this builds. There we go. It's all good. And then we can go and delete this project. And then rename this. Where's rename? I do not see a rename button. Alright, well then we can just I also forgot to copy over the assets directory. Sorry, it's open in command prompt. There we go. And then we can just rename this to HDE. There we go. And then that will have also cleared it from NetBeans, so we'll just reopen that project. And still don't see a rename button. Maybe it's defined. Here we go. That's better. And then you can make sure this still runs. All of this works. There we go. So now that we have a Gradle project, I'm going to start going through and adding documentation to all of this. There won't be much happening. I already went over all of the code in the previous installment, and so I'm just going to mute my mic and get along with this. If you want, I'll add a note in the video description about when you can skip ahead to when I'm done with this. Okay, just a small note. I think I'm going to just this negative so that that's really there just to invert the scrolling direction, and I think that should be kept separate from the actual distance scrolled. So we're just going to we can go to place where it's used and just instead multiply by -1. And then also, while I'm going through, I should probably quickly explain the way that I choose to do documentation is I will add it onto anything which is public and not an overridden method. So anything which is, well, rather than public, I should say not private, and which doesn't have an @override annotation on it because those methods are already documented by Java. Okay, one note, I looked into the use of this method here, and it looks like the use of abort add is really in a one-off scenario down here. Or sorry, not there. Where'd it go? 1 second. Right here. And I really can't see a reason for this, and so I think it would be better just to do instead, or rather, so we're just going to take this out. Then we will go and remove all of these references. And okay. Right. That's that. So back to documentation. Alright, so I've gone through and finished writing up all of the Javadocs in here. For anyone who's paying close attention, you'll notice that it's been a few days since the previous clip. Since then I went on vacation for a week, and during that time I actually noticed a bug while just playing around with this, which is we run it. You'll notice that I was doing something like this, placing these close together, and then you can see if we try to connect them. Sorry. If you try to connect them, then you get this long error, and if we go and have a look at this, you'll see that it's because it's attempting to reserve the port, yet it's already reserved, and this shouldn't happen on this line here, because you can see that we do check if it's reserved beforehand, and for the start where this is, we don't actually add it to the start. We don't actually assign it to that position unless the port is free. And so I spent a bit of time thinking about this, and I realized that the way that this would happen is if you select this port, a start port, while it's free, so that you can start creating a line, and then when you try to select the end port, you select the same port, and because that start port hasn't already been reserved, then this check passes. It then reserves it here, but then this line fails because it's the same port. So I think to fix this, all we can do is we say if the selected port is the start port and the selected component that, and these are, and the selected port ID is the same as the, so if these are both equal, then that means we are selecting the same port, and so we will instead create a junction. So if we go and try to do that again, you can see we can really we can do this with one. You can see if we try to do it at the same time, we will now actually create a junction, and it will obviously be a little bugged because of the weird way in which it was created, but now it won't crash the program. All right. I also thought that we should probably go through and add in some documentation actually writing out what all of these different lines of code are for, so I'm going to go and do that, and then I'll be back in a second. Okay, so I'm currently going through the render code in the content panel, and I think that what we can do here is currently just drawing all the lines regardless. I think we should be able to make it so that we only draw the ones which are on screen. So I think it should be if either end of it is on screen, then we draw it. So if and I think we're already clipping it on the component, so I think we can use some similar code here. So what if we say this is going to be where the first point is. So you can say if the bounds contains either point 1 or point 2. Alright, that's that. I'm gonna go back to doing this. Okay, so I just got to this function here where adding is new, and I was trying to figure out exactly why we were subtracting the top left corner here. So I went into the project, I just tried copying it. So if we do this, copy paste, then you see that it does something weird. So I figured out, first of all, that these components are just stacking on top of each other, but I've yet to figure out much more than that, so I figured that we could do some debugging. So first thing that I wanted to try was it looks like this component position is being set equal here, and then it's being translated. So because Java objects are passed by reference, my guess is that that is actually updating the component position in the process, and actually the same thing here, which could be the result of why we're seeing the components being translated. So what I want to do is double, And then if we set these to both be new points and then update them to be at that position, that should hopefully fix that. And then obviously the same thing here. So HUD dot double, and then to dot pause. So okay, let's try this. Okay, that's better. As you can see, it's still not quite centered. So if we even go up here, you can see that it really appears to be centering on the x-axis, but not the y-axis. So, I don't know. I mean, I was originally trying to figure out why this line here was here, so we could try commenting that out. Well, let's bring these close together. No, that makes it worse. So let's have a look here and make sure all our x's are x's and our y's are y's. YY, width, height, XX, XY, YY, XY. Yeah. Width, height, XY, XX, XY, YY, XY. XX, YY, and these will be correct because they're the greater ones minus the smaller ones. Will give you the width and the height. Then you can think about this in MS Paint. If we have our frame here, we're going to have some components. And when we copy them, what we want to do is we want to take their old positions, we want to take their old positions which they're at, and what we're currently trying to do is we're trying to add this new center to them. So if we could subtract the top left position, so if we could subtract the top left position and then add on the, so if you can imagine, let's make this easier and have a case of a single component. You have this top corner at, say, 1, 1, then you clone it down here to, let's say, if we say this top corner is at 1, 1, and this is at 0, 0, then, sorry, let me erase this rectangle. That's better. Then let's say we want to translate it over here. So this corner is still at 0, 0, but now this corner should be at -1, -1. Right? Yeah. Or, sorry, I got my coordinates backwards. This is -1, -1. This is just going to be 1, 1. It's better. So what we want to do is we want to subtract this -1, -1, which will bring us to 0, 0, and then add on the center of this minus half of the width and half of the height, which will give us also 0, 0. So we want to take the new center and subtract it's the width and height of the selection, or half of it, which is what we're doing. And then if you can imagine, we then addition is commutative, so we can also in here also subtract the x and y. of the top left corner, and that should end up centering it, but clearly it's not. So that would leave us to believe that possibly there's something else in here which is not working correctly. Component position. Yeah, the width and the height. So clearly it is, let's see here, top left corner dot y. Another thing to note is that it always seems to be further up. So here, let's just try stepping through this with what we have here as our single component case. Make this bigger. Alright, so first of all, component 0 is going to be the component, is going to just be our first and only component. Top left corner is going to be its position, so -1, -1. And yes, I know I drew these as rectangles, but they're actually squares. But then we're going to store that position in here and in here. So currently both TLC and BRC, so the top left corner and the bottom right corner, are both currently at -1, -1. Then we're going to add on the width and the height of the component, which in this case are both 1, bringing the bottom right corner to 0, 0. And then for here, we only have one case to step through. So comp pos is going to be -1, -1. And these are not less than anything, and so these two stay the same. And we're going to add the width and the height, which will bring this to the to this corner here. And again, neither of those are greater, so none of this stays the same. Then brc.x 0 minus tlc.x -1 is going to be 1, and same with height. So width and height are both 1. Then we're going to new center is going to be at 0.5, 0.5. So we're going to subtract half the width and half the height, which will bring it to 0, 0. And then we will subtract tlc.x and tlc.y. So we will subtract -1, -1, which will bring this final position to 1, 1. Yeah. And then finally we are adding these to -1, -1. So 1, 1 plus -1, -1 should be 0, 0. So to me this looks correct. But if we run this again, just grab our two components, actually here we can even try one. We can see that it does have a tendency to not quite center it. Although you can see when we have 4, this is centering it reasonably well. If we go back to our single case, you can see that we are getting sometimes quite a far ways off. Next thing I would think of would be, it could be a problem with the coordinate system. None of these are being... No, because all of these positions are staying in component coordinate systems. Huh. It appears to get worse with the fewer components you have selected. If I'm trying to make a new selection with just a single component, you can see that now it's actually reasonably good. We go and delete all this. Interesting. So maybe it could be affected by previous things that are in it. So see, this is iterating over the input components and the new component. And new components, which is just going to be happening in a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's possible that when we are pasting, sorry, 1 second. No, because you can see that we clear the clipboard here. And then we do clear the clipboard each time, and then when we copy it, Alright, so nothing comes to mind at the moment. For now, I'm going to leave it be, and we'll mark it as something to look into more later, but I'm not really sure what to do about it at the moment. I'll come back to it if something occurs to me. In any case, back to writing up documentation. Okay, another thing I just noticed while looking through this code is that draw line here, this copy sign function I think is unnecessary because the magnitude of this difference and this difference will always be the same. The only difference will be they'll have opposite signs, but we're just being told to use the sign of this one anyway in copy sign. So I think what we can do is we can just say PR times x2 minus x1, and then the same thing here. We can check to make sure that that still works. And yeah, that does the same thing. So there we go. All right, back to documentation. However, as I say that, I think I've actually gone through and written the documentation for everything. So I think what we have to do now is start getting this RAID actually put on GitHub, right? So if we have our command prompt here, you can ignore that. Okay, so let's see. First things first, I think we can git init. There we go. Now if we git status, we'll see that we have all of this. And if we go to, I believe, I believe GitHub provides a list of useful git ignore templates. So we can just go and download a few of these right now. So I think we can use Java and Gradle. Yeah, so what we can do, we would like to view these raw, and then just in Notepad, we'll open .gitignore, and then I'm just copying off of my other monitor, and Gradle.gitignore. And now if we get status, is it possible that they only accept stuff in a regular .gitignore file? 1 second. Notepad.git .gitignore, and then what we can do is just I'm going to copy these. So this is all Java and Gradle. There we go. You can see now that we have lost like the .gradle directory, and actually that appears to be about it. Yeah, just out of curiosity, sorry, haven't seen this directory before. Is this? Oh, this is the Gradle wrapper. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now if we still also have these two files here, we can just delete those. And now we have all of our files. As you can see, NetBeans will go through and highlight for you all of what's changed. Oops. We can see that this still works. So I think we are ready to push our initial commit to this. So we will stage all our changes, and it will yell about this. And now we can just commit, initial commit. And I actually have my Git set up so that it will prompt me for a password before I can commit. Just enter this, 1 second. And there we go. So that is now committed. And we just bring this back up. We can create a new repo for this. Public, this is all fine. There we go. And so then we can git remote add our origin repository at github.com/coolspy3/hde.git. And now git push-u. So if we're setting the upstream to origin repository, the branch is master. Now if we go over here, you can see that we have all of our initial code here. All right, next up, you should see that NetBeans should hopefully detect this and stop highlighting all these. In any case, what I wanted to do next was set up some GitHub Actions to work with to auto run builds when we push. All right, so we just have a look at GitHub Actions. You can see that I've already done a bit of research into this. Shoot, these are all not what I'm looking for. Okay, give me a second to pull up some documents. Be back in a moment. All right, I'm back. So, what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to open up this in a different IDE. Sorry, let me open up a different project here. I'm doing this on my other screen so as to not completely reveal my entire file system. Give me a minute. Here we go. So if we first create a new folder and call it .github, oops. Sorry, I got myself confused somewhat. Again, new folder .github, and then in here we create another folder and call this workflows. We can now write up our workflows in here. So first thing I want to do is I want to build with Gradle. So we're going to be writing this in a syntax called YAML, which I'm somewhat familiar with. So first thing, name is going to be building with Gradle, and then doing this every time someone either creates a pull request or pushes to the repository. And then jobs, let's see here. Sorry, I'm looking at some stuff on my other screen. Here we go. Build. Strategy. And I think I'm just going to have this run on Ubuntu. Sorry, it's and then steps is going to tell us what we actually want to do. So we are going to want to do actions / checkout at 2. So we're going to check out a branch, and then we're going to set up JDK with, here, actually we can just call this, you don't need to specify a name, there we go, actions / set up Java 1, oh, there's a V here, and then we also specify with Java version, and I'm building this with Java version 14. Next, we're going to run chmon, and this will make sure that the Gradle file is actually executable. And then after that, we can just run Gradle build. And then finally, we have a look at, I load up a terminal here. We you can see that this is going to load, and then we'll build it. Let's see here. And there should be a way that we can, sorry, is it under build? Libs, yes. Okay, so if we then want to upload, how do you spell this? Artifact version 2, and then our output directory is going to be build/libs/HDE.jar. All right, and that should theoretically run a build. Again, I haven't tested this before, so we'll see. And then what I also want to do, this is going to be somewhat more complex. Let me think for a minute. Okay, let me do some more research, and I will be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. So what I think that I've decided to do is that in this project, you can see that one of the things you'll have is, if we go to, there should be some in here. You can see that some of these lines are tabbed over like this, and I'm sure that if you look for a bit, you'll find that there are others. I'd made all these today, so you're not going to find them, but there are some which are tabbed over like this, and there are some which are back over here. And really what I want is I just want to tab them all over to here. So what I think I will do is I will make a quick project right here. Where we will program something which will just go through all these files and replace any lines like this with nothing. So I think that for something like this, it's best just to do it in Python because we can write it fairly quickly, and then it'll be done. So and then I'm actually looking into Stack Overflow article right now on traversing directory trees in Python. But let's see here. One second. Sorry, this is not what I'm looking for. Sorry. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see here. Here we go. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So, looks like what we can do is just say for root there's files in os.walk dot one second. Let's have a look at I know you can't see anything of what I'm doing, but I'm just looking at Python documentation. 1 second. Look. I do not think that top-down matters in this case. Apparently, that's an argument you can pass to os.walk. But then if we just say yes, okay, so with we can create an empty array called lines, and then if we open root file, then and we're reading this as file, in case you can't tell, I'm not quite as good with Python as I am with Java. Second. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Yeah, okay. So, you can say if not line, break, and then otherwise, lines append line. So now we should have a list of all the lines in lines, and then if we just say if we open this again as writing, then for each line yeah, so it looks like we can do is space, which will say if the string is all white space characters, then file dot write just a new line character. Otherwise, write. Actually, here, can simplify this a little. So, if the line is not just spaces, then write to the file and then always print a new line. And there we go, that should actually be it. So, now just to give this test, here actually, can we how do we do command line arguments? And actually, before I forget, looks like we can do, sorry, this is not at all what I was thinking of. Here we go. We just say if we import sys, looks like sys.argv is going to be all the arguments passed in, with the first one just being the Python file name, So it looks like we can say if the length of this, so you can imagine what it looks like it'll be is that the 0th index is going to be format.py, and then first index will be our argument, and then obviously that'll keep going. So if the length of this is less than 2, then that means that that we only have that 0th index element in there. So we'll just say path is sys dot argv, or sorry, path is just going to be the current directory. Otherwise, path is sys dot. Otherwise, it's the first argument we got. So if I program this correctly, should actually be able to format itself. Oof. What did it try to do? Join. Not text.io wrapper. Huh. 1 second. Okay, so one of these is not what it seems to be. My guess is that it's going to be this. So if we cast that to a string, nope. We cast both of these to a string. Oh, maybe. Oh wait, it's down here. Hang on, actually, this is interesting. If we back all this out, clear this. If we run this, you'll see that we get an error. But it only occurs on this line. So that implies that somewhere in here, root or file changed. For file and files. Oh, well, this is me not naming variables the same thing. Try that. There we go. Whoa. Okay. So you can see that it tries to space everything, which is weird. Huh. So could it be that the lines when coming in have a new line appended to the end? This is character turn line feed. Annoying enough. What if we just try? What if we just ignore the last character? So you can see that that seems to work. All right. So now if we Python, and then we should be able to pass in the project directory. Is this it? No, this is not. 1 second. Let me get the project directory. So that did just attempt to that should have just attempted to format it. If we have a look at our command line, but it didn't. Can we maybe print out the path that we're using? So you can see it is pointing to the right directory. Print root. Oh, wait, no. This is the problem. You don't want to walk dot, you want to walk path. Okay. How about this? What if we say less than 2, then how about this? So there. Now I should be able to say the path is going to still point to argv1. But we can then say sys dot argv dot hop if we do that twice, we'll then have we'll have popped out these two arguments, and we'll now just have these supported file types. So now if we say for type, which we'll just call t in sys dot argv, support file types dot append t. So there we go. Now we should be able to just say, now we only want to use files which end in this type. So if actually, here's what we should do. We should sterilize user input first as well. So if you know what, I'm not going to figure out how to do this using other means. We're just going to use regex because it is simpler. So import re if re dot here's what we should do. So if we create a file type pattern is re.compile our regex string. So if we call this anything followed by the character dot and this is actually all going to be optional, then and then any character that is not the dot character any number of times. So I think that should work, but just in case, we can go to regex101.com and just test this. So test, I don't know. You can see, oh, and obviously we want to be able to actually read the file type. So if we surround that in a capturing group, and I'll do the same thing here so that it will show us. Oops. Then you can see that no matter what you type in here, that it will always store this into regex group 3. So over here we can say file type pattern dot match t. So dot group 3, and this will be the type. So if we do that, then we should be able to say if file name dot file name dot ends with plus so then for file type in the supported file types, if the file type ends with, so if it ends with .file type, then we will mark it as a supported file type, and we can just break because we don't need to do anything else here. And then if we are not supported, then just continue. So now I should be able to say, just as a test, we can tab over this line here, and it should delete this tab here. So if we say Python format.py .py, then you can see that it deleted that there. So that looks like it works. But now, the great thing is that we can go here and we can say only format Java files. Ooh, and I just started Firefox. A second. So now, getting back to here, you can see that it went and modified a bunch of stuff here, and there should be a better way to view this. Yes, there is. We have a look at GitHub Desktop. Give this a moment to load. Let me make sure that I open the correct repository. Let me do this on my other screen so as to not show every single repository I have on here. Go to projects, here we go, select folder, add. Then here we can see all of our changes. And so you can see that what it's done is it's gone through and deleted all of this here. So there we go. Don't care about this or this. We just say, actually, we can not do this for the moment. So if we make this into a Git repository, then go on to, sorry, wrong tab. Oh, this is also not what I'm looking for. There we go. We open GitHub and create a new repository, which we'll just call Blankline Formatter. Create that, and then push it. Oops, sorry. Origin github.com/coolspy3/blankformatter.git. Git add dot. And actually here we can just do it over here because Visual Studio. Initial commit, and then it's going to ask me to enter a password again. Give me a minute. Go. And now git push -u origin main master. So I'm used to working on another repository where they use main as the main branch, but in my part it should always be master. And then you can see that over here we have a single file here. All right. Now, the next thing I want to try, if we go back to, sorry, I closed it. I didn't mean to do that. Give me a minute to open this. And, whoa. I want to run a format. I want to make sure that it conforms to these specifications, so what I'm gonna do. And credit where credit's due, I'm gonna be looking a lot at this other, at how it's done in this other repo, all WPI lib. There's the name if you want to look it up. I've done some contributing to them before, and I'm going to be using them as a sample just to write these. Now for the moment, I think it can be, some of this can be almost the same. And then what we can do here is you're going to do checkout. Here, actually, it looks like I can simplify this a little. We just say looks like I can do this instead of this. There we go. I'm going to create a format task and essentially say steps, and then rather than setting up Java, we're going to instead set up Python with Python version 3.9 is what I'm using, and then rather than doing this, I'm going to think I should be able to check out this other repo. Let me have a look at the GitHub checkout. So it looks like you use this repository tag. So repository CoolSpy3 slash what was it, code format? Oops, wrong one. This one. Slash Blankline Formatter, sorry. Blankline Formatter. And then we want to put it path is going to be and then we're going to install it into Blankline Formatter, I think. Alright, now if we say run Python 3 dash, oh sorry, it should be uses and with, I think. That's better. Okay, where was I? Yeah. So run Python 3 Blankline Formatter slash Blankline Formatter.py on this directory and format Java files. So there we go. And then I don't need to do anything here actually. Wait, there is one more thing. Which is this command should then check for, sorry, yeah, so this command here should now check for changes, and then if there is, it will throw an error. Alright, and then there's one more I want to make. Which is going to be about documentation. So it looks like there should be a way to create Javadocs in Gradle. and I'm just going to grab this from the Gradle documentation, but it looks like what you do is yeah, looks like we can just say create a task, generate Javadocs, type Javadoc, and then source is source sets dot main dot all Java, and then you can see it's trying to create stuff. I don't really want it to do this, so we'll just delete all those. Yeah. In any case, if we now say Gradle generate Javadocs, you can see that it has run into quite a few errors. It actually looks like this is a common error. Oh. So it looks like that program that we had accidentally deleted quite a few lines. I think I might know why as well. So if we go over to this, then you can see that it's clearing the last character of the line, but if that line doesn't have a new line after it, then it won't do that. So what we want to say is lines.append line one, sorry, what? If line index I'm sure Python has an easier way of doing this. Yeah, so if you just say line -1, oops. So if the last character of the line is a new line, then line, then line colon -1. So there, now it will only delete if the last character of the line is a new line. And then there was one other thing I wanted to do, which was files is support file types. Yeah, 1 second. Python. Pretty sure there's a way to do this. There we go, yeah. So if we just say for line enumerate lines, then you can say if line dot is if the line is space and we are on the last line, so the length of lines -1 is I, then I don't want to create a new line, which will mean, so if you have a file like this, if the last line is already a blank line, then normally you would say it's a blank line, write that, and then write a new line, and then you have 2 blank lines at the end of the file. So to prevent that, we say if the line is, here we can switch this, actually no, so else, because otherwise the line will be space, so else if we are on the last line, or, sorry, going back to this, if the line is not space, or this is not I, then we will write this, because if we're either, and actually we can switch these to make it slightly better, I think. No, never mind. So if the last line is not a white space, wait. Yeah, if the line we're on is not a white space, then whether or not it's the last line we want to write something out. Otherwise, if we're not on the last line, then same thing. So next up we have to git restore src. I think that should just restore everything in source. Oh. Git status. There we go. So now this should actually build. And now if we go to we try to build documentation, and we can just rename this actually Javadoc. So you can see it's already spitting out a few warnings, but if we then have a look at the, and I should probably go back and fix those, but docs, yes. So if we then open if we then open this in here, you can see that we have generated all the Javadocs, and it will have all of this written in here with Javadocs. It will list many methods. All right. So, geez, there's like 5 things that I've said I have to go back and do now. So, first things first, I'm going to quickly add in this documentation because it looks like I just missed it. All right, let's go here. So first things first, I'm just going to do this, be back in a moment. All right, so that seems to have been it. So what we can quickly do is say fix Javadocs. Okay, and then past that, not gonna do that. Next up, documentation. It's almost gonna be the same. We're just gonna execute the Javadoc task instead, and then we're going to be uploading docs Javadoc, and that should do that. Next up, let's see, that's done. Next up, I want to push the changes we made here. then push that. Next up, I think we can say that this has all been done, although I don't want this project file. Hang on, I believe there's a way that I can remove that. Pretty sure there's a way, at least. Somewhere in here. Here we go. If we just say dot project, then that will ignore it. And that's kind of the same as dot git ignore, except it just won't save it to the, it just won't have it be part of the dot git ignore. It's just for local stuff. All right, so I think that this should all be good. And now let's give this a go. So if we then say Github Actions, we can just try committing this. And you'll notice that I didn't actually make the changes which edited all those spacings, so this should actually fail, but that should work as a test. So we just open up GitHub, look at this. There we go. So you can see, let's have a look at what failed here, because I didn't expect all of these to fail. Startup failure. So the workflow is not valid. Expected value path. Oh, that's on me. So if we do that, let's just check the rest of these. So unexpected value path, and this last one. Wait a minute, sorry, let me make sure I got all these. Documentation, unexpected value path, that's correct. Here, we'll just do this. 2, 3, there we go. Format, so this one looks like it did actually, So this one also failed, to check it out correctly. Just as a test, can I just going to create a test branch where I can do some commits. So if we have a look at here, I just want to try run ls-a-l. Let's just try this. And this should also fail, but let's have a look here. Here we go. Whoa. you can see that it did actually grab it. Sorry, that buzzing is my phone getting all the notifications about runs failing. Oh, I figured it out. It should be that. So if we try pushing this, oh. Oh, that's because I got it wrong again. Format.py. Here, I'm actually gonna also mute my phone. There we go. It's better. All right. So. Oh, did I not push? There we go. All right, so you can see that that time it actually did what it's supposed to. So I'm going to save everything that I have and switch back to master. And paste this back in. And we don't need this line anymore. So you can see that what changed was change this to be the right file type. Okay. Fix GitHub Actions. Yes, just commit that and push. So let's just wait for these. This one's actually going to fail, and build. Workflow name. There we go. Huh, interesting. These all failed. So let's have a look at what happened. Oh, format we're expecting to fail, so that's fine. This one, build. Huh. Oops. See if this works. I'm surprised because it did work the first time. So let's try that again, make sure nothing changed. So, all right. commit that and push. Let's have a look at what happens. And actually, in here, I'm just going to call this Javadocs task name. All right. So while we commit that, let's have a look at. So as you can see, we have artifacts from this. Let's download this. And same with this. So you see we grab the HDE.jar and also all the Javadocs. Does it let you specify names? Github Actions. Upload artifact. So here we go. Uses actions checkout. So name. Name. Is there a way to... Sorry. All right. Let's do this. Artifact names. So there we go. And that should do that. And now I think I'll also go through and finally fix the formatting so the builds won't keep failing. So if we go over here and just say and then you can see it's gone through, and it should have gone and edited all of these files to be correct now. So if we have a look at GitHub Desktop, because it will format all this for you, you can see that it's gone through all of these and it's just deleted these blank line segments. So does it not like, okay, so GitHub Desktop does not like my GPG keys. I'll just do it from, I don't know, command line. This will work. Fix formatting. And there we go. Over here, I'm also going to go to test and delete this branch because it was just for testing. There's a way to do this. All branches. And you can see that that one has gone through and it passed all of those checks. So there we go. That is this gone and all committed to GitHub. So we actually ended up creating 2 GitHub repos today, which is not expecting. I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to do, Let me just see if I can recall what it was. I cannot think of what it is, so that is all I have today, and have a nice day.